Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. As you can see from the thumbnail, the name of this is What's Happening. What's happening to America? What's happening in the world? Now, I'm going to go through a few memes here because I post my memes on my community page, and I get a lot of reaction from them. A lot of people like them, but I think it's important sometimes to talk about what they mean. Indirectly. Memes are very powerful if used correctly. So let's check out a few here. It's really important that we think about what's happening and what we can do as individuals. Now, this one here is a typical hypocrite lefty. This is from March of 2022. President Biden isn't to blame for price of gas. Vladimir Putin is. You know, the Russian collusion, too, I'm sure she believes. And then, of course, here we are 9 months later. Guess my local station now under $3 a gallon. Let's go. Thank you, President Biden. And this is what happens with these people. I've seen Jordan Peterson and other psychologists talk about this. When especially progressive leftists have two differing opinions on the exact same topic. Now, people would call that hypocrisy as a rule, but also psychologically, it has a huge, huge impact on you mentally, and it causes great damage, and that explains a lot of these people and how they react to things. Let's continue on to another one. Here's one here. I'm not going to go through them all, of course, and try to make the point that all these mass shootings when they are 15. And the one there in Buffalo, I live in upstate New York. In fact, the kid that did that shooting in Buffalo came into my store on occasion. I owned a neighborhood convenience store on the north side of Binghamton. And I remember that kid when I saw his picture. But that's just a little side note. And as you can see there, they're all Democrats or lefties. And that's true. So it makes you wonder, is it the weapon or is it the mental instability of the person? I'll leave that up to you. Of course, again, they're going to be after the guns because guns kill people, not people. Here's one here that I think really hits the nail on the head. DJ, sorry, we're not allowed to play Baby It's Cold Outside. Remember that one? Where she wants to go or whatever. It's an old song about winter and Christmas and how patronizing it is and the patriarchy and how men control women and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, here's Cardi B telling everyone to eat her. Yeah, and that's the funny part. That's the amazing part. It's crass and it's rude and socially unacceptable to play Baby It's Cold Outside at a radio station. And it's a minority of people that are giving all the crap, by the way, to play a Cardi B song to eat your blank. And that's the craziness of what's going on. They're erasing our history, both good and bad. Our culture is being destroyed. Here's one here. Now, this wasn't the exact picture, of course, of President Biden. I forget where he was when he gave this speech. When he called for unity, but at the same time said all the MAGA supporters, which represents over 45% of the country, are evil. Now, that background is correct. You should have saw the real background. It looked like something from the Soviet era, like the 1930s Germany. And, of course, it has the emblem of the Capitol from the Hunger Games. And, of course, the Pan Am emblem is on Biden's podium. I'm a huge Hunger Games fan. I think it's really interesting how people always think that lefties especially, that regulations and rules and all kinds of things that a central government can do, i.e. cutting out freedom of speech, having a board determine what is proper, is basically the same as the Hunger Games, where a central government controls everything. And I can't believe he's still... Now, I've seen the latest polls, which are the worst ever for Biden. I believe only, 38% approve of him now. Frankly, I'm surprised it's that high. So that means there's 38% of the adult population that vote that are completely mentally just gone. But that's an emblem. Emblems have meanings, and that's why memes are so important. They convey messages without words. Without even saying anything, you know exactly what it means. They're very powerful. Here's another one here that goes against the craziness. And there's the First Lady, Jill Biden. Excuse me, Dr. Jill Biden. I forget what she's a doctor of, but not really. With some individuals. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And here they are at the White House. Your post goes against our community standards, and this is the community. And that's exactly right. Now, maybe not these individuals directly, but the same thing, a small minority of people that are just taking your speech and throwing it away. This website has received a lot of criticism for that kind of thing. It's a small percent of people that are dictating what the vast majority of people can say or do. It's very common. Look at any history book with any civilization that gets flushed down the toilet. This is how it begins, with the censorship. And it's the people who are doing the censoring that's the crazy part of all of it. Here's one here that I recognize, that picture, the architect. That's the picture from The Matrix. I believe he was the main program or something that Neo had a face. I forget how it goes. Hundreds of millions spent on camps, but no money for homeless. True. Millions spent on tracking innocent people, but no money to track pedophiles. True. Millions spent on campaigns to vax every citizen, but not illegal immigrants. There's definitely something wrong. Give you an idea, I think I saw it. I think it was $10 or $11 million in that Build Back Better that was sent to Pakistan. Think about this for a minute. $10 or $11 million. That's a lot of working people's taxes. Sent to Pakistan for gender study and LGBTQ plus programs in Pakistan. Just stop the video and just try to comprehend that stupidity. And that's only one example, and there's hundreds and hundreds of others. We spend money like water, or they should say they spend our money like water, and there's no accountability anymore. It's so incredible. I wish there's a list, I'm sure, if you look it up, of the things they spend it on that are ridiculous. This is a picture from the New York Post. Biden does nothing as record number illegally cross border. These people cross unlawfully, not through ports of entry. They either turn themselves in or are caught. And then they are given a court date because they want asylum. Well, economic hardship is not a requirement or a reason for asylum. So they're given a court date. Some were given a court date in the 2030s, and this is 2023. They don't have a court date for 7 years. Now, here's the thing. Once they get their paperwork and they get a court date set, after 6 months, they can legally work in the United States. Think about that for a minute. What happens to wages when there's a lot more workers than there are jobs? They say, well, John, there are 4 or 5 million jobs that are unfilled, and because people stop looking. The unemployment rate is so low, no. The unemployment rate is very high because tens of millions, especially young men, have just stopped looking for work. So they're not counting the unemployment figures anymore. And why are they doing this? Why are they diluting the population? There's a lot of reasons that I can't get into now because this website won't allow it. But they're replacing the minorities that the Democrats have taken advantage of and assumed they would always be on their side, as in Biden's quote, if you vote for Trump over me, you ain't black. They mean it literally. And my opinion is the minorities that have always gone the Democrats' way, one of the main reasons why these millions are coming in unlawfully is to replace them. They need a new set of voters. Maybe I'm lucky that I'm older. I don't have to see what's going to happen in 20 years because I won't be around, or I'll be old enough where I won't care. interesting thing here. Now, I tried to do some searching. I couldn't find the Responsibility Act of 1996. I'm assuming this is correct. An illegal Immigration Reform and Responsibility Act. Non-citizens who vote must be deported. I find that very amazing because there's cities that non-citizens can vote in local elections. Now, I live in upstate New York, and I was a local elected official in the early 2000s, 2000 to 2007. It's bad enough that we're way upstate, way away from New York, but yet we have a huge SUNY Binghamton, that's the college here, great college for the money, but a vast majority of the students are from New York City because it's so affordable, they get a good education. They get to vote in local elections. It's bad enough that you're not a resident of this area, but you are a citizen, and you get to pick the local representatives, and they'll be long gone while these representatives are still there. Now, non-citizens are being allowed to vote in some municipalities. Go back to the original picture. Why are they allowing so many people in? Now we know. Eventually, they're all going to be able to get to vote, and all hell is going to break loose, and God only knows what's going to happen. It's really a shame. Yeah, it's just kind of a funny one I threw in there. Unvaccinated, conservative, meat-eating gun owner. How else can I offend you today? Believe me, the progressive left finds lots of ways to be offended by everything and anything. Being offended and outraged and virtue signaling is what they do. It's what they do. So you're talking to a coworker, family member, anybody really, just shooting the breeze in public with somebody, bar, restaurant, barber shop, you name it. You're going to offend somebody because all they are is they're professional. I'm offended people. Don't take it to heart. Don't waste your time with them. Don't try to logically change their minds. It's a complete waste of time, and it's just nonsensical. Let them stew in their own juices, and just don't feed gas to the fire. These people are unsavable mentally. They just are. And that's just the way it is. So what is happening? Well, we've come at a divergence. How's that Robert Frost poem goes? I came went through the woods, and there was a road that was split, and I took the road less traveled, and that has made all the difference. Well, we are at a crossroads now, and everybody says this is the most important election. Bah, 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 bah. But it is. At least in my lifetime, I'm 67. What is happening? This is one of those turning points very similar to the 1860s. The Civil War was a huge turning point for America. And there's been other things. And we've come at a crossroads. And we've always seemed to pick the right thing. But the forces that are going against this country, against our Constitution, against our way of life, and against our culture is very, very threatening. They're in positions of power and authority, and even more importantly, influence. Influence in our elementary schools now, junior highs, known as middle schools, and high schools, and every university in the country. Look at what's going on with the university presidents at the congressional hearings about the anti-Semitism that goes on. It's funny. You have a speaker come in, say somebody from the Daily Wire like Michael Knowles, and there's huge protests, and they're screaming and hollering, and there's been many cancellations. But yet, when you have anti-Semitism protests and saying horrible things about Jews and Jewish people in Israel, the presidents of these colleges say, well, that's terrible stuff, and we hate it. But you know what, though? We can't go against the Constitution and freedom of speech. These people suck so bad, they're hypocrites. They bring hypocrite to a whole new level. And they're being called out. But is it enough? Is it too late? I don't think it is. So get to the point of this whole video is what is happening. Each individual American citizen is going to have to decide how they can stop this insanity that's taking over our culture, our academia, movies, TV, the mainstream media, most websites. It's taking over anything. It's like a cancer. It's like any of you Star Wars fans know what Order 66 is, when the clone troops all turned on the Jedi. They were all there, and it was overwhelming. That's exactly what's going on now. It seems overwhelming. It seems that I'm only one person. I can't do anything. But that's not true. Do little things. Try to convince one or two people that what they're doing is wrong. Talk at city council meetings. I was a councilman for 8 years and we had public comment. Voice your opinion. It's not falling on deaf ears. If it changes one or two people's mindset, then that's perfect. And if 1 million people do that, that's 3 or 4 million people changed. You can do it. There's strength in numbers. Do what you can, because I don't want you to be older and have your grandkids sit down with you and say, Grandma, Grandpa, look at our country now. I've read in old books how it used to be. It's terrible now. We can't say or do anything. We're being watched constantly by the police and the authorities. I don't like it. Why didn't you stop all this when it was happening? People would say, I felt overwhelmed. I was afraid. There's a multitude of reasons. Well, it's up to you. How's that saying go? We plant trees whose shade we will never sit under. It's about the future, and you get to decide what direction that future goes. Until next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.